Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. Tonight, I'd like to address and talk about something that's commonly used in the Black African American community. It's something that is used a lot on social media, and it is conversation that are driven on a lot of platforms on social media and YouTube channels. And this is about beta males and alpha males. And one of the things that you'll find on Black social media, the platforms and discussions and conversations, is that you always hear reference to the beta male and saying or attributing in the Black community. This is the Black channel talking about Black issues, where we address some of the misbehaviors in the Black community. For example, Pookie and Ray Ray, some of the inner city problems and violence that is due to systemic racism. You'll find that those who host these platforms and these discussions or leading these discussions about beta males in the Black community, that we have to understand first and foremost, where does this wording alpha or beta males, where does it originally come from? And this is something that I like to discuss because it's not, there's nothing that I have seen on an academic level that is reference to alpha and beta males. This is based on pseudoscience. And unfortunately, on social media like YouTube, Facebook, those YouTubers, those people who have channels and platforms on social media, that majority of them are not people who are speaking from a level of intelligence or a level from academia. Not saying they're not educated, but this terminology is basically, it is a pseudo terminology. Beta males, alpha males, it is a pseudo terminology. It's not something that you find in psychology. It's not something that you find in science. And there's not really any proof to prove about beta males. I have listened to many speakers who are educated in psychology, sociology, economics, in particular from the Black community. It's not a terminology that we see that's used from these individuals, but it's a terminology that is being used to describe some of the misbehaviors in the Black community, right? So when you come to the alpha and the beta male, and this could also translate into the alpha or the beta female, that we need to start discussing these terms that we are gravitating towards. What are the origins of these terms? Where do they come from? Because in the Black community, we take a lot of things that do not benefit the Black community, rather yet it harms the Black community. In particular, when it comes to the beta male and the alpha male, in particular, using this term beta male, it doesn't solve the issues in the Black inner city and the Black communities. It doesn't solve any of our issue. And we have too much of this pseudo thinking and pseudo scholars inside the Black community. So when we look at the terminology being used, the alpha male or the beta male, it is a pseudo terminology. It's not based on any scientific facts. It is something that bring up good discussions for people on social media and YouTubers to get views to their page or to their video or to their channel. When we look now to solve some of the real crucial issues going on in the Black community in the US, the pseudoscience do not benefit the Black community. Matter of fact, the pseudoscience, such as these terminology I'm using, beta males and alpha males, beta females, it further divide the Black community where we're not using sound information, sound knowledge to fix our problems. A lot of the things that contribute to the beta male and beta female, as we have in our cultural usage of the word Pookie and Ray Ray and Bebe kids, where this terminology used in this framework is not based on anything scientific or academia. It's based on comedians and movies. If we look at the word Pookie and Ray Ray, what is the origin of the word Pookie and Ray Ray? New Jack City, Chris Rock in New Jack City, who was playing a crackhead. Hood rats, right? Another terminology is to describe the beta Black female. Hood rats. It also, this terminology, hood rat, it comes from the hip hop rap culture, the inner city dysfunction that has been plaguing the Black community with the rap and hip hop, from speaking or rapping or singing about experience in the inner city that the Black people have social problems due to systemic racism. But we label them not with a particular intelligence or from a particular genre of academia. This is the street names and street terminologies that we use. And that goes back to the terminology now, beta males and beta females. It goes back to the same type of thing. It's coming from a non-academia explanation. So while people on YouTube, and particularly in the Black community or the manosphere or from the feminist end of social media, where they're still debating and arguing between Black men and the Black woman, still causing more division, and they bring it into the discussion pseudoscience and pseudo terminology, the beta male, the beta female, the alpha male. I want an alpha male. Eurocentric approaches to dealing with Eurocentric issues, or Eurocentric who cause issues for the Black community in the US to keep them oppressed and from keeping them from developing, so they're able to look at and see what is the origin of the problem and who it comes from. But we still hold on to these terminology, in particular that the beta male, which come from where? The pseudoscience, pseudos community. And this is why when I go back and I look at some of the Black thinkers in the Black community historically, like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and others, you notice in their speeches and talks, even when you look at the Nation of Islam, when you look at their speeches and their talks, you notice they never use the term beta males. You notice they don't use those terminology to describe other blacks in America who have inappropriate behavior that does not benefit the black community. They don't use these terms. But we're using these terms due to algorithms and trying to get views. So much so where we leave off a educational framework, or we are developing a framework that is based on pseudoscience, and it doesn't benefit the black community because it's not based on any real facts. It's not based on anything that is solid, rather a cultural misunderstanding, inappropriate thinking, and a lazy approach to deal with black issues in America. You know, when I became Muslim in 1998, as a young male who was 20 years old, in Islam, we are taught to look at the origin of where things come from. So, for example, as a Muslim, I had learned if I look at a book, first I look at the book, look at the author. Who is the author of the book? What is this about his life? What is his background? What is his qualifications? And the topic that he is writing about is that of his field. It's very important. As a Muslim, we learn this. وَأَصْلُ هَذَا or حَصْلُ هَذِهِ, and the origin of this من القرآن. It comes from the Quran. إِذَا جَاءَ الْفَاسِقُونَ, if somebody come to you who's a fasik, be news with news, atabayyinu, investigate it. This is something also comes from Islam, from the Quran. ثم إذا ذكر المصطلح حديث وأصول فقه. It's something part of usul fiqh and mustalah hadith. When we look at mustalah hadith, al-amru rijal or jarh wa ta'dil, related to the narrators of the hadith, the chain of the hadith. Who was this person in the chain of narration, which derives if the hadith, the matan in the hadith or the waraya, if it's going to be sound, good, weak, or fabricated. So I learned this from learning Islamic science. When I hear a word or I hear a terminology being used, I just don't go and use it. I look at the origin, where it comes from, beta males and beta females, where it is come from. It is based on pseudoscience. Matter of fact, when I look into Kitab al-Sunnah, neither do I find this terminology in this way being used. You have a man and you have a man who is weak or a man who is strong. That's it. A man who has ghira. All right? Ghira means في اللغة العربية, it means somebody who has jealousy for his woman. All right? Hadith also that the believer that who is strong is better than the believer who is weak. All right? So on and so forth. But it's not described who's the alpha male and the beta male. Who's the alpha woman and the beta woman? Then those who are going to say, well, let's look at science. Some would say, look in the nature of science, that the animal, for example, gorillas, they have the alpha gorilla who watches over the remaining of the gorillas from the weak ones, and he takes the women that he wants. But if you study this, then you will learn that he doesn't last for long. He's not really the alpha gorilla or chimpanzee. He's not really the alpha until one of the males or the teenagers from the gorillas challenge him. Either he loses or he wins, and he be what? Not the alpha gorilla or chimpanzee. He be the head of the tribe. That's real science. Now, when we use and describe the beta male inside the black community, no, it's not a beta male. It's inappropriate behaviors that we have inside the black community. And if we keep on using these pseudos labels, which originally didn't come from black peoples, it comes from Eurocentric culture. I say it again, it comes from Eurocentric culture. It doesn't even come from Eurocentric academia. It comes from Eurocentric culture that has no connection to science itself or academia itself. So in reality, when we're looking at Pookie and Ray Ray and we're talking about beta males and the hood rats and the beta females, in reality, we're looking at people who has inappropriate behaviors and misbehaviors that do not benefit them and do not benefit the black community. And we can't say beta male and beta female because there is some type of behavior that caused them to act like this. There was something that was introduced to them that causes them to behave in these manners. So when you label it as the beta male and the beta female, which is based on pseudoscience, in reality, you're saying that this person is dysfunctional based on Eurocentric culture that has nothing to do with academia, something they use for fun. Something they use for fun, and their culture remaining of white folks and white women talking about she wants the alpha male, looking for more money because she's greedy, or looking for the male that what we say in the black culture that has the bag. It's a white woman trying to get more privilege and more money in her own culture, in her own setting. And the white man who doesn't have the money, he's considered to be the beta male. That's Eurocentric thinking based on capitalism. I say it again. That's Eurocentric thinking based on capitalism. So when we now look now into the black community and dealing with the black issues, we can't come with no Eurocentric pseudoscience to fix real issues in the black community. That's why here at Black American Muslim Opinions, I decided we need to start using Islam and Islamic sciences to empower the Black community, Muslim or non-Muslim. We no longer can keep on taking these pseudos things, which unfortunately, pseudoscience terminology is deeply rooted in the Black community. Unfortunately, it's also tied to the Black conscious movement, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it is also tied to the Black conscious community because you got a lot of pseudo scholars in the Black conscious community. I can name some of Dr. York, Malachi York, big hustler, but a big damage on Black folks. Elijah Muhammad. Even some people would disagree with me. We have many others like this in the Black community, except for our elite say, at least Elijah Muhammad did things to move Black people away from hating themselves due to their skin color. But in the end of his life, until today, the Nation of Islam, I haven't seen them today improve the life of Black Americans. I see them as their movement, some individuals within it are benefited from it financially. And I leave that note or that statement with them, and that's it. But we have in the Black community a lot of the pseudo scholars. Unfortunately, we also have them in the African American Muslim community with the personality chasing that we also cling on to these pseudos personalities. And we don't take a deeper look into what is actually qualifications in Islam. Unfortunately, the Black community, African American, and Muslim community, just like our counterparts in the Black community, we're not looking at the academia part. We are hooked on pseudo scholars and pseudo terminology. And that's why we hooked on this term beta males and alpha males. A high risk, what's it called? The famous word used by Kevin Samuels is a high man or whatever, high profile, or somebody who got the bag. This is the term they use. A high caliber man, meaning financially. And that's also based on pseudoscience, pseudo terminology, which is also fixed on capitalism, Eurocentric concepts. And there's a whole genre in the Black community that makes money off of this on YouTube and social media. And that's why you're finding that none of those channels, none of those individuals, they're actually not fixing none of the problems in the Black community. They're not fixing none of the relationship problems. Rather yet, some of the way they construct themselves in the discussions and they talks about beta male and beta female cause more problems in the Black community because it caused more confusion and it caused more male and female to distance from each other and other things on top of that. We need to start discussing the real issues. What you classify as being the beta male or the beta female is really our victims. Victims of systemic racism, being in poverty, impoverished systemically by the government, and what type of social behavior it caused Black people to behave and to react. We are socially made people in the United States of America, which causes these type of behaviors. But we're looking at it as a beta male and beta female. Let me say the beta male, he grew up, he don't have no father in his house because his mom keep on having kids with men and not having relationship. Who made that legal in America? Who pushed it out in the Black community, and who made that legal in the United States of America? Then we start looking at the origin of the problem, where the problem originate from. Government. No one wants to say, but it's the truth. It comes from the government. The government pushes in the Black community because it knows it would cause dysfunction and division amongst Black people, male and female. And as long as we're dysfunctional and our families are not correct and right, then we will never be the type of sound people we need to be and have a sound society to combat systemic racism, white supremacy. So it's a social issue and a social problem that Blacks, we need to deal with real solutions, not solutions based on pseudoscience, not solutions that's based on Eurocentric ideas that's filled with white supremacy and have a hatred for Blacks that is anti-Black. And as long as we keep on using these terms, the beta male and the beta female, then you're knowing that you're using Eurocentric pseudoscience to solve and talk about Black people's issues. In reality, we need to talk about the inappropriate behaviors in the Black community where there's no accountability and no responsibility. And how did we get there? And how are we going to get out of those situations? We're definitely not going to get out of those situations with the mentality of the usage of pseudoscience, especially that's geared towards Eurocentric pseudoscience that come from the Eurocentric community that they use, not in the academia level, where it really comes from is this white woman trying to get more money from the white man. So the white man that doesn't have the money, they call him the beta male. And the white man that could provide and give her whatever she wants, where her white privilege to be magnified, this you call that the alpha male. And the white man who can't provide that for her will call him the beta male. That's where these terms come from. You look at the word beta in the dictionary, you're going to find it's related to the word beta itself. It's related to data, computer data. You look up the word beta, where it comes from, data. I think that concludes for tonight. Something I want to get off my chest, because my next project I'm going to work on for a video is how we need to, in the Black community, remove ourselves, withdraw ourselves from these things from the white society that doesn't benefit Black people. Because as I said earlier, we are a socially made of peoples. We're socially made people by whites. our problems, whether it's psychological, financial, health, were all made and designed by white supremacy. So I said, man, that's hard to really chew, my man. Well, you think so? You talk about PTSD. A soldier goes to the military. He goes to war. He sees blood. He sees a lot of death, and that affects him. They call it PTSD. What do you think about black folks who've been in the system in the country where the government have perpetrated crimes against them? Slavery, Jim Crow, the war on drugs, the AIDS epidemic, the drugs that was pushed in the black communities. Black people don't own no poppy seed. Black people ain't making no cocaine. Black people don't control the border. Been ripped from our heritage and language. All that has effect on the people. You talk about black women are most likely to die in childbirth. We need to start asking ourselves, why is that? Then we look at the black woman, why she's dying, most likely to die in childbirth. Well, she's not the only one. Black people, high blood pressure runs big in the black community. Diabetes, HIV, AIDS. Why does this happen this way? Because we are genetic made people, socially engineered people. We don't have our natural diets because it was taken away from our what? Land, language, heritage. That also means your diet, the African diet. And because you don't know where your origins for, then it means that you don't have your original diet. So that means that you're going to have more health issues. And then we take on a diet that's Eurocentric diet, European diet. And that's why we have a lot of health issues. On top of that, the capitalistic diets, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. That itself would destroy anybody, whether black or white. Because we are consumers in the capitalist society. So that's why we have health issues. And that's a talk for another day. But we need to start having those discussions. If you like this video, as I said many times, Facebook, YouTube, they'll do their best not to promote black channels. So if you like this channel, please click like and share it. And if you want to help, you can also donate. You can see I have now for my PayPal on PayPal. You could donate paypal.me/Black American Muslims. And thank you.